At the heart of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is a narrative deeply intertwined with history and religion. It's a story that dates back thousands of years and centers around the land of Canaan. This land is of profound significance to both Jewish and Palestinian communities, and its origin is woven into the Bible. For the Jewish people, Canaan symbolizes the biblical promised land, a place where their ancestors settled after an exodus from Egypt. It's a sacred homeland, a place where iconic biblical figures like Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and King David once lived. Yet, from a Palestinian perspective, their link to this land also has biblical roots. They see themselves as the descendants of the ancient Canaanites and Philistines. This shared heritage transcends religious boundaries, with many Palestinians, regardless of their faith, identifying themselves as the heirs of these early inhabitants. To truly comprehend the origins of Palestine according to the Bible, we must journey back to the pages of the Old Testament, to a time when the foundations of this narrative were first established. Let's begin with a comprehensive understanding of Palestine's land, including its physical boundaries and the fascinating origins of its name. This region is framed by some natural landmarks. To the north, there's the Grand Mount Lebanon, historically separating it from an area once known as Phoenicia in ancient Syria. Moving eastward, it meets Mount Hermon, a towering peak that marks its boundary with Arabia Deserta. To the south, it touches Arabia Petraea, and to the west, it stretches out to the vast Mediterranean Sea, also referred to as the Sea of Syria. The name Palestine has an interesting backstory. Its exact origins have been debated for years, but it's thought to come from the Egyptian and Hebrew word peleshet, which can be roughly translated to mean rolling or migratory. This term was initially used to describe the people who lived in the land northeast of Egypt, the Philistines. The Philistines were a people from the Aegean, more closely connected to the Greeks and having no ethnic, linguistic, or historical ties to Arabia. They arrived in the Mediterranean coastal plain, which today encompasses parts of modern Israel and Gaza, around the 12th century BCE. It was their presence that led to the naming of the land as Palestine. The Philistines mainly lived along the sea coast, leaving a lasting imprint on the region's name. This region was also historically known as Judea, derived from Judah, one of Jacob's 12 sons. These sons, known as the 12 tribes of Israel, played a pivotal role in biblical history. Today, this land is often called the Holy Land because it holds a special place in the story of Christianity. It's where Jesus Christ was born, preached his teachings, performed miracles, and made the ultimate sacrifice for humanity. The significance of this land is deeply rooted in biblical scriptures. For instance, the book of Micah, chapter 5, verse 2, foretells the importance of Bethlehem, saying that a ruler over Israel would come from there, whose origins are from ancient times. The Philistines, often considered the ancient and original Palestinians, made their first appearance in the Bible in the days of Abram, who would later be known as Abraham. The Philistines' journey to this small coastal region in southwestern Canaan was a fascinating one. Before settling in this land, they hailed from Crete and other areas north of Egypt. They were part of a vast group of people known as the Sea Peoples, who embarked on a series of invasions around the 13th century BC, coming from regions near the Aegean Sea. Evidence for their presence and origins comes from multiple sources, including the Bible, Egyptian historical records, and archaeological discoveries. The Bible tells us that the Philistines came from Caphtor, which is generally believed to be Crete. In the book of Jeremiah and the prophecies of Amos, Caphtor is specifically linked to the Philistines. In 1 Samuel 30:14, we find references to a part of the Philistine coast known as the Negeb of the Cherethites. In other biblical passages, the Cherethites are mentioned in parallel with the Philistines. This relationship is further highlighted by the fact that the Cherethites served as King David's bodyguard, likely recruited from the Philistines during David's time in Ziklag. Egyptian records also provide insights into the presence of the Sea Peoples, who are described as invaders from the islands in the north. These records align with the biblical accounts of the Philistines' migration to the coastal regions of Canaan. The Philistines' appearance in the Bible spans 4 different periods in Israel's history. They first interacted with Abraham and his immediate descendants, then during the time of the Exodus and the Judges. They played a significant role during the reigns of Saul and David and persisted through the era of the divided monarchy, around 950–500 BC. Abraham had a notable encounter with the Philistines when he journeyed to the land of the Philistines in southern Canaan, specifically in the city of Gerar. There, he had a tense exchange with Abimelech, the king of Gerar, who took Abraham's wife Sarah. God intervened, warning Abimelech in a dream and prompting his repentance. This episode highlights the divine protection and care shown to Abraham, even in the face of adversity. Decades later, Abraham's son Isaac moved his family to the Philistine city of Gerar during a famine. Similar to his father's experience, Isaac encountered Abimelech, who inquired about his wife, Rebekah. A deception unfolded, but eventually Isaac revealed the truth and lived peacefully among the Philistines. God's blessings accompanied Isaac's time among the Philistines, leading to prosperity and envy. One of the most iconic stories featuring the Philistines in the Bible is the battle between David and Goliath. Goliath, a colossal Philistine champion, challenged the Israelites for 40 days, ridiculing their God and daring them to send a warrior to face him. David, a young shepherd, rose to the challenge and triumphed against all odds, solidifying his place in biblical history. It's worth noting that the New Testament does not explicitly mention the Philistines or refer to the land of Palestine. Instead, it consistently recognizes the land as Israel, and in Jesus' time it was referred to as Judea. The tale of Palestine in the Bible can be traced back to the narrative of Moses, the leader who freed his people from slavery in Egypt. After a remarkable exodus, they wandered the wilderness for 40 years. However, it was not Moses, but Joshua and Caleb, who eventually led the younger generation into the much-awaited Promised Land, the region we now identify as Palestine, initially inhabited by the Canaanites. Under the leadership of Joshua, the Israelites embarked on a conquest, displacing the existing peoples from the land that God had promised them. This marked the beginning of the formation of a tribal confederation that eventually evolved into the biblical kingdoms of Israel and Judah, later consolidating into the kingdom of Judea. Note that these biblical kingdoms, namely Israel, Judah, and Judea, have been the sole independent sovereign nations or states to have ever existed in Palestine. Following the conquest by the Romans, Palestine fell under the administration of the Roman Empire. Subsequently, it became a province of the Christian Byzantine Empire after the decline of Roman rule. However, in 638 AD, an Arab Muslim caliph took control of Palestine from the Byzantine Empire, integrating it into the expansive Arab Muslim realm. During this era, many inhabitants of Palestine embraced the faith of Islam, gradually transforming into Arab Muslims themselves. When Jesus was born, all of Jewish Palestine, as well as some neighboring Gentile areas, was ruled by Herod the Great, who was considered a friend of Rome. Unlike Syria and Egypt, where Roman legions were stationed, Palestine did not house Roman military forces. Rome's imperial policy dictated that Palestine should remain loyal and stable to safeguard their broader interests. To ensure this, Herod was granted authority to govern Judea as its king from 37 to 4 BCE, allowing him substantial autonomy in exchange for maintaining peace and allegiance in the region. Now, shifting our focus to the earlier history, after the time of David, the Philistines gradually faded from the historical stage. They made sporadic appearances during the period of the kings, even launching an invasion into Judah, resulting in significant losses for the Jewish people. The last mention of the Philistines in the Bible can be found in the book of Zechariah. Jeremiah 47, a prophetic passage, foretells the judgment of the Philistines and predicts their eventual demise. This prophecy aligned with historical events, as Philistia found itself caught in the crossfire of a conflict between Babylon and Egypt between 609 and 587 BCE. Tragically, this situation led to the complete disappearance of the Philistines from the pages of history. Hopefully, this journey through the origins and history of Palestine according to the Bible has shed light on the remarkable complexity and diversity of this land. As we conclude our journey through the wonders of the Word, remember that faith is a light that guides us through life's darkest moments. If you found this video inspiring, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more enlightening content. Keep walking with faith, and we'll see you in the next video.